Hey friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is part 2 of the video where we are discussing about 20 lessons that I learned from Atomic Habits and something that you could go back to your desk and start implementing. Let's get started. Hey folks, if you're here for the part 2 of this video, I'll link the part 1 of this video somewhere else. So where we discuss 9 lessons, and in this video we're going to be discussing about the next 11 lessons that you could go back and implement in your desk or probably in your life, right? To make your life probably more mindful and fruitful. Okay, anyways, so habit number 10, right? So as I told in my point number 6, where for a habit to stick, it needs to be attractive, right? So as humans, we are kind of attuned to do something that gives us the dopamine hit, right? So think about all the habits that you've been repeating, right? Be it social media, right? You every time you refresh, you're seeing something new that gives you a dopamine hit, or eating junk food. It's kind of easy, the choice is easier to make, and it's really attractive, and then hence you keep making those choices. So what James Clear argues in this is, for you to inculcate a new habit, pair something that you need to do with something that you want to do, right? See, for example, in my case, I'm always excited about watching a new film or a new series, right? So I tell myself, hey, you know what? I need to read for 20 pages before I can watch TV or anything for 30 minutes. So I need to read, I want to watch. So I've paired this with these two together. For example, you could say, hey, you know what, you might be a caffeine lover, so you can say, hey, every time I make a coffee, I'll just go meditate for 5 minutes before I make this coffee, right? So here basically what you're doing is pairing something that you need to do with something that you want to do. So that's lesson number 10. And lesson number 11 is something that's very underrated, something that I am personally trying to do, is to find a tribe where your aspirational behavior is the default behavior. So what do I mean by that, right? So let's say in my case, I'm consistently trying to produce YouTube videos, right? So if I am part of a tribe where, a set of people who believe that, making YouTube videos makes a real difference, they're constantly discussing about new tactics, how algorithms are changing, or how they are writing scripts, or how they are editing their videos, that's the default behavior of that tribe, and just by being part of that tribe, I'll try and replicate this behavior, because after all, humans are social animals. So just by being part of the tribe where your aspirational behavior is the default behavior, you would be far more consistent. And this is something that personally I am trying to inculcate a lot more. I mean, not that I'm not trying to inculcate the other 10 that we have discussed, but this is something that I'm actively trying now. I'm trying to find a tribe where there are people making YouTube videos, they're discussing how they write scripts and things like that, so that I get inspired. I am pushing myself to produce more videos that will be of use to people who are watching or listening to this, right? So find a tribe that supports your aspirational behavior. So let's go to lesson number 12. Right? So by nature, humans are tuned to choose something that's less resistant, right? So I made a separate video on the 5-minute rule on why we procrastinate. That's because a part of our brain is always choosing comfort and is always choosing something that's the path of least resistance. So don't rely on your willpower to overcome that, right? So rely on your environment. So I'll go back to the example of eating junk food, right? So if you're someone who's saying, hey, I want to do away with eating sugar, the easiest way to do that is to do away with all the cookies, the chocolates, all the sugary stuff in your kitchen cabinet, so that you're not eating sugar. If you're gonna say, okay, the chocolate is gonna be lying around, but I'm gonna rely on my willpower, I'm sorry, probably you'll end up failing in day 10, day 20, or day 30. If you wanna kind of inculcate a behavior that's gonna stick with you, design your environment and don't rely on your willpower, right? So that's lesson number 12. Lesson number 13, right? So scale back your habits, right? So this is something that has been discussed not just in Atomic Habits, but a lot of book, right? So for example, I've been reading this book called Mindfulness and Meditation, where again Andy Puddicombe says that the easiest way to inculcate meditation is by scaling back your habits to 10 minutes. So on day 1, you're not going to run a half marathon, right? Or on day 1, you're not going to be meditating for 30 minutes. On day 1, I'm not going to have 100,000 subscribers. The easiest way for me to get started is to write scripts that I could just shoot for 3 minutes, right? So if you're someone who's into YouTube journey, scale back your habits to just 5 minutes, right? So promise yourself that if you want to get into workout, that you'll just work out for 5 minutes and then chill for the rest of the day, and slowly try to increase the time and intensity, rather than saying, okay, on day 1 I'm going to be doing 60 minutes of run and I'm not going to be working out for the next 10 days. So scale back your habits. So that's your lesson number 13. So lesson number 14, reward yourself, right? So make yourself feel good for performing good habits. For example, it could be as simple as, again, this goes back to the thing that we discussed, where you do something that you really want to do and pair it with something that you really need to do. Again, those are very, very similar. For example, I've been wanting to, let's say, buy an Apple Watch for a very long time, right? So I have told myself that every time I make a YouTube video, I'll drop in $10. Right? So once I've reached the required amount, I'll probably go ahead and buy an Apple Watch. So here, what am I doing? I'm just rewarding myself for things that I need to do, and I'm making more, trying to at least make a lot more YouTube videos because I want an Apple Watch. Probably you'll see me having that in a couple of videos from now. Hopefully I am consistent, right? So, and lesson number 15, right? So measure your progress, right? Because what's not measured cannot be improved. But be mindful of not judging yourself too quickly or measuring yourself too early into the journey. So just keep thinking about, okay, hey, how am I doing this, and how can I improve this and make it better, and measure this through visual validations, right? So for example, let's say there was this time when I had to kind of cold email a lot of people, and that's something that I really hated doing. So I made a visual cue to myself, right? So I had like 2 physical jars, and this is a tactic that again it's discussed in Atomic Habits, where every time I kind of email a cold prospect, I would just drop a coin into this jar. So I could literally see one jar filling up and the other jar coming down. So if you're making these progress very, very visual, it's going to kind of help you stick to your habits. Right, now let's go to hack number 16 of what you could learn, right? So make an accountability partner. Again, this is something that I tried, I'm still trying. So I have 2 folks, probably I'll link to their YouTube channel. So we have a contract within ourselves to say, okay, we have to keep ourselves accountable to produce 1 YouTube video a week, or video in whatever format, and we keep ourselves accountable, and we have a contract where if one of us fail, we have to treat each other for a donut, right? So again, I'm not trying to cut down on sugar, but if you don't have that donut, and ask for a sugar-free option. But yeah, so basically this thing is, the agreement we have is we need to produce at least 1 video every week. Between the 3, all 3 of us need to produce 1 video a week, and if not, we're going to be treating each other. So we have this contract and accountability partner, and we are trying to build this tribe where aspirational behavior, which goes back to my initial point of where we want this to become a default behavior, where I know that, okay, these people are going to question me if I don't produce the video. So hence I've been far more consistent. So if you're into trying to build a new habit, find a partner who will keep you accountable. Habit number 17. So choose habits that suit you. What is it that seems fun to you and is work for a lot of others, right? See, for example, talking in front of camera is something that, I wouldn't say I've mastered it, but something that I love and I want to do more often, right? But for me, writing scripts is the hard part. So for me, this is the fun part, and writing scripts is something that's not fun to me, right? So I'm actively trying to work on that skill to ensure that I am doing what I love doing. But I know a lot of my friends who are very camera shy and things like that. So you're not going to develop a habit that's not fun to you. So try to make it as much fun to you, and always keep thinking, okay, what is it that's fun to me that I can double down on, or what is it that's fun to me that I can keep doing. Obviously the good habits, and not the ones that make you spiral down. Hack number 18. So review habits from time to time, right? Because more often than not, we pick up something, we keep doing that for a long time without realizing that, hey, either we aren't enjoying it, or these habits have stopped adding value to us. And when I say these habits, I would say, do it for a good 2, 3, 4 years before you think. Obviously this doesn't stand for something like a fitness or more mindful. Probably you're someone who's more mindful than without undertaking any mindful activities, or you're someone who is naturally good at writing scripts that you don't need a habit framework to get things done. So always keep asking your questions about, hey, what are the values that drive my work and life? Am I living with integrity right now? What can I do well to help my future self? So keep answering these questions, right? Now, hack number 19, very closely related to this. At the end of each year, or whatever time that suits you, ask yourself, what went well, what could be well, and what did I learn, right? Because at times we are so stuck in our habits, so stuck in our systems, that we don't take a step back to realize, okay, hey, what's been going well? Is it something that I've learned that I can implement in other habits? Do I need to shed a few things to take up new things? So ask these 3 questions of, hey, are you really learning something from your habits? Is it really adding value? That brings me to the final point of, keep thinking about what identity would your future self want, and alternate your habits based on that. For example, I personally know that there is some point in my life where I want to stop working, probably 5 or 10 years or 15 years down the line, and I want to have various sources of passive income, right? So I am currently framing a lot of my habits and systems around that, right? So this wouldn't be the same things that I would have thought about 3 years back. So keep thinking about, okay, hey, what is it that my future self wants, and what is it that I can do today to help my future self. So those were my 20 practical lessons that I have been trying to implement from Atomic Habits. If you found these useful, hit a like, share and subscribe, and do let me know what books I should be reviewing next. Until then, this is Praveen Ramesh signing off.